having all these things that we take for granted, you know. It's crazy how quickly things can change, where the things that we rely on every day are just like gone. And now you're thinking of like trying to think about backlinks and stuff like this suddenly is not important. It's like, are we going to be warm enough? You know, or our pipe's going to burst? And you know, I was fortunate to have a really strong assistant who I think she called 50 hotels before she found one that had any vacancy because they were just all booked up. But you know, there's most people are still kind of stuck in that situation in the Austin area. I think you know, it's kind of blotchy. They were doing like these rolling blackouts where you would have electricity for like 40 minutes. So it would be enough to get the house to go from like 45 degrees to like 60 degrees. And then it would shut off and you'd kind of like start the process over again. And, you know, without the water, there's no way to flush toilets. So you kind of start coming up with creative ways. We filled up buckets with snow. And then when the electricity came on, we would try to melt the snow. And then we would have like the bucket to be able to dump. It's just like, wow. Some of the stuff, you know, our life has made things so easy on us that like we don't even consider some of the stuff like what people used to struggle with before, some of the challenges. But we made it work and everybody's good where we are. Texas was pretty woefully unprepared. No extra heaters. There's like no shovels. People, just like when the pandemic started, people were buying out all the water, you know, off the shelves and stuff. So it was, it's kind of weird to see people in that regard. As a lot of you guys know, we've had an issue. For those of you guys who haven't seen it yet, we have an issue with our Google My Business, our connection to Google. It seems like it was kind of like it hit a lot of other companies outside of us. So we're kind of working to try to get that back up. But Google's made some changes. They got some stuff that are kind of making it hard for us to be able to pull in the information. So I don't have a clear deadline of when that will be up and running again. So hopefully within the week, but within the next 7 days is what I mean by that. But it's not guaranteed yet. You know, it's kind of like what was working for us before is it's not working now. So it relies on us being able to work with Google and try to, you know, sort this stuff out. So, but we're doing everything we can. I want to make sure you guys know that like this is definitely at the top of our priority list here. So I'd like to start these off when we get started. Obviously, we got a couple little small updates, but does anybody have any wins? I do weekly meetings with my team. I'm going to go into that a little bit today. I'm going to talk. I know a lot of you guys, you know, each week that we do one of these, I want to talk through and kind of do a Q&A and then talk about any new updates we have, answer any questions if anybody's struggling, anything related to the platform, and then kind of give you guys like a little segment where I can give you guys some value on, you know, various parts of the lead generation business. So today, one of the things I want to talk about is just like the way we've kind of organized our agency. I know I've spoke about this a few times, but I'm going to get into that a little bit today and go over some of the strategies, some of the changes that, you know, after trying to make this work for a little while for people that are trying to scale, you know, some of the stuff that I kind of went down one pathway and it wasn't really working. And then we pivoted several times and then we kind of started finding more and more success with things. So, and it's obviously, look, I'm still like making mistakes. I'm continuing to learn every day, every week within our agency with, you know, some of the stuff now, you know, I think it was last week, I actually let go like 4 people from my team. We decided we're going to raise the standard. We're not going to kind of tolerate this like marginal performance. You know, I'm a big believer. There's like, I would love to hear from you guys and maybe we could throw it into the chat. I think this is important, but there's, you know, people to have kind of mantras in your head of things that you can kind of go back to where you got to have your guiding principles for your company, but you also have to have them for yourself too, of like, hey, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to run things. So one of the ones for me is you get what you tolerate. You know, whatever it is that you're going to be okay with, that's what the standard is going to be. And for me, you know, what I did is I basically got rid of some of our backlinkers. It seemed like we tried to work with them, and we had set up some like contests, and I'd given them bonuses, and we've done a lot. And I think one of the mistakes that I made is when I hired them, the tone kind of changed throughout the agency. And that's kind of hard to do. It's just like, unlearning a bad habit, right? So I think it's easier when you bring someone in to set that tone from the beginning. And I failed to do that correctly at the beginning with a few of these people. And we weren't able to course correct. So as we bring on new people to kind of replace some of these hires that didn't work out, we're going to make sure that we set that tone. But this attitude where it's like you're going to get what you tolerate. I think that it's something for me when I see something that I don't really like, or I'm not comfortable with how it's working, and it's just like, it's easier to just let it keep going on, right? It's easier to just not do anything about it and just kind of like, well, this is working to some extent. Yeah, it is working. And it's okay to be like, in my mind, this is kind of like self-talk. Like, it's okay to be like a middle of the road agency, or it's okay. Like, hey, we're profitable. We're doing well. We're growing. That's good enough. But, when there's that opportunity for improvement and you see that there's like some weak links, I also think your company is going to kind of only be as strong as some of these weaker links. And you're the ones. You guys, we work really hard to try to bring this money in and find these clients and build these sites and rank them and all these different things that we do. And when you have somebody in your agency that's kind of bringing it down, it's just like you're undoing a lot of your hard work. And that's where I go back to that. You get what you tolerate, right? It's not acceptable for me to have these, like, what I want in my agency is I want all stars. Okay, that's what's acceptable for me, is I want people that are going to do exceptional, that are excited to be here, that are going out and kind of like doing their own research to try to find their own, find out, improve on their own, right? And then we bring it back and we kind of talk as a team. So like, if you don't have that attitude, there's probably a lot of really good companies that you can work for, but we're just not going to be one of them, right? If we're going to be exceptional at what we do, then we need all stars that are joining our team, and not these like lukewarm, going through the motions type people. And I was tolerating that, and I decided I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do the extra work to try to find the people that are really going to work hard and level it up. And this goes not only with my agency, this also goes with the lead generated platform and some of our developers. There's a few developers on the team that, for the most part, we have exceptional developers, but there's a few of them that are not in that space. And that just like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. Okay. So I'm like, moving forward, I'm not willing to tolerate this anymore. I'm just like, that's not going to be the case. And this can be applied to your clients as well. If you're going to bring on like marginal clients, then they're not going to grow at the same pace. Right. And it's okay when you have like 0 clients and you bring on your first client and you're like, well, I'm super excited that I got my first client, but like, maybe he doesn't answer the call all the time, or maybe like these people are calling back because he never followed up with them. So like, it's one thing that let's get the train kind of going down the tracks, but at some point you want to make a pivot, right? And I think no matter where you are, it's important to kind of set some of these tones from the beginning. And, we've talked about some of this like mindset as we try to bring our clients on and sell our clients, is kind of like establishing from the beginning who's, and not in like a authoritarian type way, but just establishing some control that you're not afraid to walk away, right? So I think those are some important things. That's something I've been thinking a lot about in my business. I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to think about how I can continue to bring value to guys. And some of the other things I want to do is just kind of like mention what I'm going through, what I'm working with, what I'm struggling with, because I think we're all in different places, but for a lot of you guys, maybe I've got like a few more reps and a larger sample size within the agency, and I want to make sure I share that. And I'm open to, obviously, like, this doesn't have to be just me talking all the time. It can be more of like a kind of brainstorming session for people that have ideas. Another thing that I want to share is kind of what I'm reading. I know that some of the books that I've shared in the past were really, really well received. Traction was one of them. I think it's maybe it was I think maybe Adam McChesney is going through Traction right now. I can't remember exactly. Someone else was going back through it. I'm reading a really good book right now by Peter Thiel. It's called 0 to 1. I'll just kind of share my screen and show you what this is about. It's a lot about startups, but there's so much more to it. For those of you guys who don't know Peter Thiel, he was the co-founder of PayPal. And then they have this, let me bring up this book on Amazon so you guys can just kind of like take a look at it. And I know it's easier to see it than it is to hear it sometimes. All right, so give me 1 second here. Let's check this thing out. So this is the book I'm reading, Peter Thiel, 0 to 1. Okay, so it is about startups, which is like maybe more applicable to me because like we've got, you know, Lead Generated is very much kind of like a startup, maybe more in the sense of than like a marketing agency to some like where it's like, you know, we're going to try to make sure like we're going to try to get this in front of like thousands and thousands of people where we may never have thousands and thousands of people in our agency. But there's so much more to it. So Peter Thiel, one of the most brilliant people on the planet in my mind, him along with, I think there's been 7 of the people that started PayPal have gone on to create additional billion-dollar companies. Okay, so they call it the PayPal Mafia. So there's like him and Elon Musk and, you know, a number of other guys. I think YouTube was one of the original, LinkedIn, like PayPal, you know, obviously Tesla. So like all of these people started out at PayPal, all kind of working together. And as I was going through this book, that phrase of you get what you tolerate, that's something that's been with me for a long time that I've always thought about. But he goes on to talk about how important it is when we start our business and when we create these partnerships, some of the things that we should be looking at, and some of the things that are important that I've kind of learned. And then it's like it really clicks into place when you have somebody like him go through and say it in the way that he said it, where it was like, man, I've already learned that lesson, but I kind of learned it the hard way. So I'm hoping, you know, for those of you guys that decide that you want to check this book out, I think it's excellent. One of my favorite books. I'm actually, you know, you're reading a really good book when you're like halfway through it and you say to yourself, man, I cannot wait to reread this book, because that's what's going on with me now, because there's so often when I'm reading this book, I have to stop and think about what he said for like 5 minutes just to kind of process it. So really, really excellent book. I highly recommend it. It's really easy to read, but it's one of those books that is going to absolutely challenge you and really make you think about things. Okay, so I'd love to hear from you guys. Is there anybody that has? Is there anybody? Yeah. So I see Laurette. You actually have that book on my reading list. I've purchased that book. So that what he's talking about is Ray Dalio, who's one of the most successful investors in history. He has a book called Principles. That is, I've already purchased that one. I can't wait to read that one too. So that one's actually fighting with whether I'm going to reread 0 to 1 or skip on to that book, but it is at the top of my reading list as well. So I encourage you guys, for a lot of you guys that, look, I know that not everybody is just like comfortable reading. It's just like, it seems like it comes easy to some people and not to others. So here's some things to think about. You know, reading is just like anything else. I was not always a good reader. And when you read slowly, what happens is your brain is not getting enough information quickly enough. So it's kind of like hopping on to the next subject. And then that's where you like read 2 or 3 pages and you're like, what did I just read? And you have to like go back. So as you kind of like learn to read faster, that goes away. And there's a lot of like speed reading stuff that's out there. There's a really good book called How to Read a Book, which will kind of like take you through the process. And like if you look at the most successful people, right? There's a saying out there, like the average CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I think it is, reads like 50 books a year. The average employee, I think, reads 3. So there's a lot to be said there. We're like, we can take this information and we can stand on the shoulders of these other people that have done so much, that have accomplished a lot, that have like, they basically created their playbook and they like package it up for you. So I kind of had to force myself. Like I said, I wasn't always a good reader. I just kind of like pushed through that. And now like I've gotten better at it and I'm able to really kind of reap the rewards. And, you know, education obviously shouldn't stop when we get out of our like formal education system, and like reading books constantly is certainly something I think everyone should be doing. You can basically look at your business, look at where you're struggling, and then find a resource on it. Obviously, JK gives you a lot of great information, But like for me, when I started this business, like JK's knowledge on the business was like 100% of my knowledge on the subject. But now, several years down the road, I feel like it's 10%, maybe less. I don't know. I'm constantly doing other courses, reading other books, just like searching for ways that we can level up. And then, you know, I'm lucky because I have people like Jeff, and we have 3 managers on our team. And, you know, for the most part, they kind of share that same attitude where they're bringing other stuff from outside the organization into it, new ideas, new strategies. You know, they're reading in Reddit, they're taking their own courses, they're studying their own stuff. And like right, the sum is greater than the parts, right? So they like bring all this stuff in it, we discuss it, we bounce the ideas off, and we do this when there's no snow and there's electricity. We do it every Monday. We weren't able to do our call this last Monday, but it's a way to kind of like recalibrate on a weekly basis and make sure that we're kind of staying focused within our agency. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of share some of this stuff with you guys because I think it's important. And I think that, you know, if we're not kind of like scheduling our time, it's easy for this stuff to just not happen. And we just kind of like keep on going down the same pathway, right? We keep a narrow focus, but I think a narrow focus is important, but you got to be like looking for ways to level up. If you're at the beginning of this, don't let this stuff that I'm saying distract you now. Focus on the basics. Once you have the basics mastered, you start to get some clients under your belt, then you can start introducing some new twists on it. But you don't want this to be like a shiny object where you're like solving problems with systems when you don't have clients yet, because you don't need a system yet. What you need is clients, right? So you got to think about what's important now and make sure that you apply things in the correct order. Okay, cool. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Does anybody have any wins to share over the week? Anything, new clients, anything exciting going on? Anybody want to share anything at all? Okay, no
I'll
wins.
share one, Patrick.
Yo, what's that?
I'll share one.
What do you got, Jeff?
Well, I got one of our sites popped out of nowhere, started getting a couple of calls, higher end calls that are very high level, high cost services. And it was just a site that's been sitting on the shelf and not producing. And I just happened to have another trial client in the area that I just got a couple of days before that happened. And he was able to turn me on to a contractor who was willing to take the leads and is very gung-ho about it. So kind of getting a 2-for-1 on that. So really cool to see that happen. So shoes on the shelf.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, just you guys just having some stuff in there. I know the site that he's talking about, obviously, because we're in the same agency. That was actually one that we just picked up. We purchased it from somebody who was kind of wanted to get out of the business. And we, you know, added a bunch of shoes on the shelf. There was a couple, I think, small tweaks that we did, but we didn't do a lot of it. And just like having that stuff sit there and age, it's only a good thing, right? So I saw in the group a few days ago, there was someone that had posted something like, when is the time that you kind of like cut your losses on your agency and just give up? And for me, that time is really never. It's just like, we haven't got there yet. That's always my attitude with it. There's always, you know, unless you somehow build like a site for swimming pools in like Anchorage, Alaska, then there's always an opportunity that site can come back, right? As long as there's demand. If you chose one that has no demand, then maybe like don't put more effort into it. But as long as there's demand, it's just a question of not ranking. Like age matters, right? And if you can kind of just chip away, maybe you've got like a list of 10 sites or something on your whiteboard or whatever in your notes, and just like maybe once a month you show a little bit of love to these 10 sites. And hey, this is a long-term goal. 6 months, eight months from now, these sites can start to pop, right? So it's like this one that Jeff's talking about. It's actually like I said, we purchased it with a group of other sites where somebody was getting out of the business, and it's in remodeling. And like, we haven't really done that much at all. But as you know, like remodeling leads are worth a lot of money, right? Just kind of like chipping away, like trying to find some reviews, maybe throwing some citations on it, throwing in a couple pages. Dave Stowers, I'm going to mute you, brother, because it looks like we got some feedback coming from you, man. 1 second.
Thiel is also not muted.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think what Jeff's saying, shoes on the shelf, is so critical. Just like constantly be building. I've said this a few times. Dave, are you trying to talk? Because it seems like you unmuted, and now we're just getting static.
Sorry about that. Got a monitor screen closed down, and
I couldn't tell what he was saying. I don't know if he was talking to us. Hey man, if you're trying to chat with us, Dave, just throw it into the chat window there. My apologies if you were speaking to us and I muted you.
Sounds like Call of Duty or something.
What's that?
Man down. Sounds like Call of Duty or something. Man down, man down.
He's got to get his grind on before
Right.
it's too late. All right, cool. All right. Does anybody have anything they're stuck with, struggling with, whether it be with our platform? And as I mentioned, like I said, we know that the GMB module is down. We're doing everything we can to get that back up. It's nothing wrong with your account, and all your properties are safe. You can still access them through your Google My Business dashboard, outside of lead generated. You can still go in there. It's just we've lost our connection, and we no longer have the ability to edit it right now. So we're working with Google to try to get that resolved. But I'm sure that we're going to get it resolved. It's just a question of when, whether it's going to be tomorrow or 3 days from now or a week. It's hard knowing how quickly Google can respond to things. We've all seen what it's like to go back and forth with them, whether it be through like Google Ads or Google My Business. So, but I'm all over it, and we're doing everything we can to try to get that back up for you guys as soon as possible. So we appreciate your patience on that. Outside of that, does anybody have any questions? Anything they're stuck with?
Yeah, I got some questions. Well, I got a couple wins too. I landed a $900 and a $400 lead gen client this week, and then
That's nice, man.
I'll land another one on Friday. I've been giving him quite a few leads for the last couple months, but then it really started taking off the last couple weeks. It wasn't that much the last 2 months. It was just kind of trickling in. And
yeah. Is it in the contractor space?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys notice like Patrick is here. A lot of these sites, no matter how well they're ranking, they're going to really be dead in kind of like December, January, February, and like the second half of February, like the first week in January, they'll pick up a little bit, and then it starts going up and up. So that kind of sounds what happened to you, Patrick.
Yeah, I guess because I didn't really have anything getting leads until like end of November, and now I'm getting I'm up to like 500 calls through all of them, and yeah, I'm just putting shoes on the shelf, duplicating, and just doing exactly what you're saying. So I got more deals in the pipe, but getting the check
was there any kind of pivots or anything that you did with these clients, the 900? We say, was it 900 and 1400?
Yeah, I mean, it was just quicker. Like I got some I've been giving leads for a while. I got this one I'm giving a lot of leads to, but the owners had COVID for the last month and been really sick. So I'm in like a weird situation.
Yeah.
Every time I call, they're like, yeah, still got COVID, can't talk. So I'm just dealing with like the employee. I don't know. I was like, I can go to someone else, but they're good. They're taking the calls on. So I'm just being patient with that one.
Yeah. I really think it's decisions like that will build a lot of loyalty from your client towards you when they're going through something tough, and you kind of have the opportunity to maybe be like, hey, you guys can't work, this isn't for you, but instead say, hey, I know that you guys are going through COVID and this is a tough thing, and like I'm gonna be patient, and when you guys get out of this, we're gonna have some business so that you guys can try to get back on pace as quickly as possible. We've done that in our agency for a few different clients, and it means the world to them, to be able to have somebody that stick by them when they're down like this, So hopefully that you'll find the same thing with these two, with this client that you're bringing on now that has been going through COVID for the last month and has been unable to work.
Yeah, and I mean it's not. I mean they're working still. It's just the owner, the one that's going to be the decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
She's cool, but I haven't been able to talk to her for the last month. So
right.
That's the issue. she's a little bit older, so it's kind of the COVID's kind of tough on her.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you make any pivots to kind of get these 2 deals closed after letting them hang there? Did you like draw a line in the sand and say, hey, I need money by this time? Or
Yeah, I mean,
some learning that came out of this?
I don't know. I haven't been doing the best. I mean, on this last one, I was like, yeah, I mean, I was like 900, 750, that would work. And he's like, yeah, let's just do 900. So, I mean, I don't know. I had a pretty good connection with him. We just talked about elk hunting for a long time. He's out west. I like to go elk hunting, bow hunting, and his business does really well. He's got private land. He's like, yeah, just keep crushing it for me, and I'll let you come hunt my land. So I was like, all right, I'll do that, 'cause that's worth a lot of money right there.
Cool.
So I don't know. Yeah, but it was a lot quicker on that one. And this 400 one, I just wanted to get money instead of going for a big number. I was like, let's just start there. You close the deal right away. I was like, okay, I just want to get some money coming in. So I guess that was a little bit different. I think I've let some of these drag on like way too long, but
Yeah. You know, we've talked about this a few times in the past, and you know, even though it's kind of like working positively out for you guys, I think it's a good idea to have a kind of a deadline in your mind of how long this is going on. Like this trial, I'm going to give this person a trial to this period, right? Because otherwise they've got an excuse of why this and this, and then it just kind of like drags on. And then like, think about it this way, you know, it's like a little bit of a mental shift. It's like you have a house with no tenant in it, right? And it can seem, because we're like not sure like how much maybe our lead gens are worth, or like the quality of the lead sometimes, that there's not value there, and we're okay with having this house that just remains unrented. Where it's like, hey, we're going to let you stay in this house for like a week so you can try it out before, like, that's kind of what we're doing. We're giving the free leads, but then that week turns into 2 weeks, and then it's a month, and then it's like they've been there for 3 months and they haven't paid. And it's like, when it's a house, it's easy for us to be like, hey, get out of my house. Someone else is going to live there and pay. But with our legions, I think we're so casual about it. But if you come in and you say, look, I'm going to take care of the cost. Like, it doesn't matter that there's no cost to you, because there is a cost. There's an opportunity cost that you're missing out on by not having it rented, right? And there's a cost that you put in it to get it to where it is. But you can tell them, I'm going to take care of the cost for this first like 10 days. So today is what? Today's the 17th. I'm going to let you have this thing until the 27th. But on the 27th, like if it's not working out, then I'm going to have to like find somebody that is going to be a good fit. And it's no hard feelings. Don't feel pressure. But I just want you to try it before, like, you know, before we get married on this thing. Just try it out and see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's totally cool. But I want to make sure that we're like, you know, we're making our best business decisions. So I'm going to give you 10 days, you know, putting that kind of like hard deadline, and then forcing yourself to go like pivot. And it may be like, you know, you can go and like start flipping the leads to somebody else and kind of splitting them. If you think that, hey, maybe this person will come through with me, like maybe you could give them a couple leads and give somebody else a couple leads while you try them out and see. Maybe you'll be surprised and you find a better fit. But it's easy. I think what Patrick was talking about, I think it's easy to just kind of like roll with it and just let it go on. And like, that's money. Like if that were an empty house that you're like paying the rent on and the bill, like the electric and all this stuff, like you're probably not going to let that go for that long. But with this, where it's like, we finally get it there and there's kind of like a low ongoing cost. And then it's like we were talking about earlier. It's like we accept it. We're like tolerating this, like not having it rented. And I'm trust me, I've got a lot in my own business where we've got a lot of empty houses that I'm paying for right now. So Patrick, I think you said you had the win, but did you say you also had like some kind of question or problem you were struggling with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty unorganized right now. I've just been focused on just building easy websites and getting calls and not really anything else. But and I got some websites on Snaps, and then also on Weebly. I'm just keeping it really simple. And, the forms are a little bit different, and I want to just integrate, with your forms on there. And when on the form, I was wondering if you guys have it set, because right now it looks like it's just like the subject line would be the same for every single website that you have, or can you?
Yeah, let me show you. Let me see if I can find this update. This update's been hanging around now for like 2 months or something, but we have it. So kind of what's coming is the ability to add in a bunch of different email addresses and then be able to set on a company level or on a module level the email address that you want to use, as well as the subject that for the email, right? So for instance, if you want if Patrick wants his first lead gen company to be sent from patricksagency.com, and then he wants a second to be sent from super cool agency to this other one. So you could essentially go through and say, for this company, for this module, I want this email address with this subject. So it's giving you a lot of control. So we've done that. So I think we have and this one is man, it's so close to being, I just need some final testing on it, but it's pretty much ready to launch in there for you guys. So we have it for the lead management module, reputation management, GMBs, which is currently down, right? And then I think there was one more. Let's see if I can pull it up here. There was one more module that we have it set up for. Give me 1 second here. So I think that should take care of that for you, Patrick. Does that sound like that would solve your issue?
Yeah, just to make it simple. I was just thinking the subject line. I mean, so on Weebly, I'm building I'm going high end niches and that don't get a lot of call out volume, and then it might take over the whole state type of thing. And I kind of like it how it says this one city and this one city, and then the client kind of knows what area the form's coming in from. And on Weebly, I can have it set new form entry from this.
Yeah.
Niche. Just the subject line. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that's it. Basically, based on what you're asking, this next update, which, who knows, with developments, sometimes it's okay, I want it done by here, and then it's a week later. But we do have this one that's ready to go live for this. It's going to include the some of the stuff that I showed you guys last week on last week's call with the pipeline and contacts, and that contacts module that we're getting ready to release means that you're going to be able to upload contacts. So if you want to upload, I know for reputation management, a lot of people have wanted to upload hey, I've got this spreadsheet. So this is kind of all bundled into one, which hindsight's 2020. I wish I would have broke these off and done smaller ones, because then we could have released a lot of them. Now they have all these dependencies on each other that's kind of causing delays in different areas. But we should have that. We should have that out really soon. And obviously, I'll post in the group for you for everyone when we release these new updates. If any of you guys know, we just kind of getting this group fired up. We were using the page, but I think the group is a better fit for kind of how this thing is developing. So if any of you guys have anybody that is not on the calls or not a part of the group that you think would benefit from it, feel free to invite them. It's not some I'm not trying to make it some kind of VIP club experience. We can just throw people in here if they're going to benefit from this. So cool. Patrick, does that take care of that for you?
Yep. Yeah, all good. And I guess just one other thing. I know you go through it, but there's just so many. I just want to, if I can get some clarity, and then
Sure.
Go through the modules. I know you have you have multiple GMBs for one website. Now, do you put those all under one company, or do you kind of?
So yes and no. We do set up a lot of GMBs for one company. Depending on the situation, the city, the niche. Sometimes we'll build multiple sites and then we'll put GMBs like in Raleigh for one niche. We built 7 sites where it's like, I felt like there was enough traffic that was kind of like unrelated to the original one. And it was a big enough area that we were trying to cover where we would benefit from that. So we basically, and it was a niche that was going to be tougher. So for instance, I've given this example a few times, plumbing. Plumbing is a tough competitive niche. There's going to be like hundreds of plumbing companies in any like major and metropolitan area. So instead of just like trying to go for plumbing and then rank for like hot water heater, you could build a hot water heater site. And then you could be more specific on that subject. So when Google's trying to decide who has the best information, and they're like, okay, we've got like all these generalists that are covering plumbing, and we got this guy who's just like talking just about hot water heaters. So you could do that, and then you could do like sewer repair and maybe like a water filtration system and like, I don't know, just like, so if you're doing it that way, where you're building multiple sites, then you can have, each one of those sites can have separate GMBs. Or if we were just going to build one plumbing site, you could have like GMBs that are kind of going after the different sub niches. So that if you do it the second way, you're probably not going to rank as well for the individual terms as you do it the first way, but you don't have to build as many sites. So you kind of have to evaluate this. You've got this like tool chest here, and you're like, okay, which tool do I need for the situation? And I also look at my client where I'm like, does this client look like he's someone that's going to just like be the kingpin in this town and just like take over, or they can't even answer the phone? So like, I don't really want to invest 7 websites in them. Or maybe like, hey, I love this niche, I love this town. Like if this client can't handle it, I'll find somebody else who can. So you just kind of like step back and like come up with a plan and then execute on it. So, but what we almost always do is we're going to set up multiple GMBs for like one company. Like, you know, if the city has 70,000 people in it, then maybe one GMB can like take over the whole city. But if we're going after like Miami, right, in this like whole South Florida area, then I'm probably going to have like one for like Miami with like, maybe I'll have like a water heater Miami, and I'll also have like the plumbing Miami with like the drain, and then I'm going to have like Fort Lauderdale. So I'll end up have like, there's some, you can have 20 GMBs. Like, what do you want? What do you want from this? Like for me, I want my clients to be paying me like $5,000 a month, right? So to do that, I've got to justify that cost, and to be able to justify that cost, I've got to have a lot of leads coming in. I've got to like take over the whole city, the whole market, right? And, you know, as I mentioned this, like the way I view that homepage is I view that as kind of like my property, that first page in Google, where I'm like, I'm coming, I want that whole page. Like I want to just like bury the competition, right? And that's like, if you have that attitude, like this is how you take your you know, your client's business from maybe they got 1 crew to have like 11 crews, right? So there was a guy that you know, he had been in business for like 25 years, and he had 2 crews after 25 years. And after working with us for 2.5 years, he's gone from 2 crews to like 11 crews, right? And that's because we took over the whole city, right? And he's one of the clients that pays us the most money. So like this stuff is related, and like you're gonna get you're like what your clients are willing to pay you guys can take that as feedback. Like, and it may be that this client is no good, but if you kind of hear the same story from a bunch of different people, like it's definitely possible that like everybody in this niche sucks. Is like, I think Adam McChesney, you know, he's starting that windshield repair, and you just like have dealing with a bunch of like people that like weren't really good business people. So he started his own, and now his business is like doing really well. That exists sometimes, but a lot of times, like we have one in Vegas, for instance, that produces a lot of leads, and we've had a really, really hard time selling it. When we started looking at the leads, we decided we're going to take it as feedback. We started looking at the leads, and just the things that we're ranking for are not the types of jobs that these people want. So like, we're going to pivot, and we're going to start trying to rank for things that are more important. And so like, we're going to add value to our site and change it instead of just being like, hey, these people, they don't want to work or whatever. Like, well, like if somebody came to me and was like, hey, I want you to build a website for $11, like that's not a good lead for me, right? So like that's going to be equivalent of this. So it's important to like, I think we get in this habit of just kind of like saying like the business owners are not good at what they're doing or they're lazy or whatever. But I think it's important to like take some of the stuff as feedback, look at the mirror a little bit and be like, what am I actually doing? Am I like giving them value, or is it this person who's just like no good, right? So, you know, I don't know. I know I kind of bounced off on a little tangent there, but hopefully you guys get some value from that.
Good. I like it, man. I just soak it in every time you talk. Learn something new.
Right on. Okay. Do you have anything else, Patrick? Anything else to discuss? We good?
I mean, I could talk to you for hours, man, but I gotta let
Nobody else wants to talk, man.
I gotta let someone else chime in.
What's up, Ben? You got a question, brother?
Yeah, just a couple things. One of the questions, I'm fortunate enough to kind of work like you and have Jeff as a partner. I have a partner that I have in my agency that, carries a lot of the weight on top of the stuff. So we are starting to get to a point where we're kind of at 90% a lot of times, meaning a lot of projects, a lot of things we're taking on. So we're looking to expand our agency in the correct way and doing it without having to go backwards, learning from people like you and some other people that have the things that are working, definitely can be of value to me and us going forward. But just to kind of, you were kind of saying the pivot part, and I have two things. I'll make it quick. But I live in Vegas too, and I have a niche that I found that I dominate, the whole town in. Something that I thought would have more volume, but the volume that I'm getting is driven by homeowners associations, and it's not more of the need of the customer, but the need of getting a deposit back, making, right with the people they're renting from. So pivoting on that, not getting enough calls and traffic to actually make it a standalone business. I've now reached out to some real estate agents and some property managers that can use this service, and have now created business cards, created some little POS things to kind of use for that. And now I'm kind of building up another side of it. So what I'm looking to do is I have the potential to have a partner take it on, as, the lead gen as we do. I know at some point, I have 25 lead gens right now. I know at some point there's going to be some duds, and, if we can sacrifice some of our babies that we make to, better ourselves, meaning if I could sell it as maybe a business or something, I was always kind of thinking of that as well. But pivoting and just kind of relying on our lead gen part, like you said, in the searches that I thought that it was going to bring, wasn't bringing the traffic that I was really hoping for. But now that I've kind of reached out and added what I know that, because the market was dictating what the leads were coming, so I just explored that a little bit more, and now I'm getting more leads where now I can actually make it a viable business where somebody looks at it and looks like it's something of value, rather than getting 10 calls a month. It translates into a little bit more. So that's kind of one way I pivoted with a property that I had, but kind of a similar situation to Jeff. I had, and what I've learned from you guys, so I love watching these because Patrick, I've seen different people, ask questions of how they're kind of letting the people dictate, the terms and different things, and what if, and, I've always seen Patrick, I'm like, Pat doesn't mess around with that. He's like, check it out. We're busy. We got things to do. If you're on board, great. If not, move on. And growing and getting bigger, like you said, kind of in the beginning, you want to take everything and you want to make sure you're priced right, you're adding value. But when you start getting to a point where, like you said, your time is value, you start just making it easier for your business to kind of weed those people out. So, I did the wrong thing too. One of my first customers, I set a site that was, I found this guy, he's a YouTube star in this niche, it was the perfect customer. I didn't set the terms as far as the payment. I gave him a lot more leads than I should have. I'm seeing the leads, I'm communicating. He's a really good guy. But I and my partner started getting a little like, well, he needs to pay us and this and that. And, I'm looking at the issue that I'm the one that set this and made, I created this monster, per se, because I wasn't setting the tone at first. So there was times that, I was like, well, we're going to let him know. And, but my partner always helps me step back and take a look at the situation. We'll go, well, if we did everything right, then we can have the conversation. So what this ended up being is it led into now he's got a lot of leads coming in. He has another business venture that he's doing with a partner that is very established and is working basically in all of the Southwest and is basically the general contractor that is completing tons of work for this big PPC company that is shoveling all their work. Well, this guy doesn't want to give his cut to these anymore. And he knows that he's a majority of the work. So now I'm set up with him with their partnership. I'm now taking on the PPC for Las Vegas and St. George to start. But again, I listened to my guy when we were talking because he said, I have a venture that, I'm going to go in this niche, this partner, he's established. So I listened. I built 2 sites out, one in Vegas, one in St. George, because he said he wanted to start with 5 locations. So I got 2, started getting leads, sending them his way, got his partner's attention. And now I had a meeting 2 days ago, sat down with a partner. I am starting the PPC for the first 2 locations. I am starting to build out locations. I'm getting a 10% on a high ticket service that I'm going to kind of start out, and we're going to negotiate terms. But the shoes on the shelf that I also have, so this guy's a general contractor. So we start talking. We figured out he's going to take on the properties that I've already built for him. He's paying me for PPC. And now I have 2 other shoes on the shelf that have been sitting there that are generating calls that I need somebody to take on. So the best thing was I was actually sitting in the meeting, and the guy that I have doing my calls, he showed me his phone and showed him the phone, and it said Ben's epoxy lead. So he did that, and he said, oh, well, takes the call. Then I'm getting calls from my other leads that are coming here because obviously we're getting the calls. So he sees the value right away. So now that I have his attention, I set the terms not right away. I say I get paid on this, for that. We're an understanding now. So there's no gray area. There's no me getting upset, him getting upset. We've already come to the agreement. But now in the same breath, that now he's taken on 2 more of my websites that are starting to generate calls that he says, he's got 12 different crews of people waiting to work in different states. So if I would have went about it the wrong way, because I didn't set the terms the right way in the beginning and get like, oh, we're going to, and kind of strong arm, I could have maybe not had this opportunity present itself. So I love the things that I'm learning from you and from Mike, setting the frame, controlling the conversation, the situation. And I could tell you, like, when I got done with it, I was like, wow, like I controlled that. I felt good about it. And I didn't, question myself because I watched, pros like Patrick just put it down and then close. I watched Mike, dictate and get people to listen to the way he's doing it. So there's so much value listening to you guys, and I feel like I'm saving so much time in my business because of the things that you guys have accomplished and you guys have made easier for us and given us the slingshot to the front. So I just, I want to say it to everybody, there's so much value in it. Use this knowledge because you guys have been through it and done it. And I can tell you, like, I would think that where I'm at right now would take a year, and I'm like surprising myself. So, never, so basically what I was kind of trying to say was when you start thinking in that your shoes on the shelf and those things aren't, working, think outside the box. And it only takes that one guy. This guy's going to like potentially be one of my biggest customers. And I'm helping him, but then in the way he's helping me too now, because I told him whether he takes these leads on or not, he has plenty of people in these niches that trust him, rely on him, and that I feel comfortable that I know that they're going to go to the right home. So if there's any way that you can, in the next couple trainings or separately, as far as I know, you have some things in the cheat codes for growing the agency side of things, but definitely could use a lot of value in that, and hear all your little tips and tricks, because it's definitely brought me a long way. So
Yeah, man, awesome. I really appreciate that. It's so nice to keep putting this information out, and you don't always know how it impacts people. I know that like people come to me here and there and like, hey, this really worked and this was awesome. But hearing stories like this, it really makes it worth it for me, and like Jeff and the other people that are on our team contributing kind of behind the scenes. But that's awesome, man. It's one thing when you hear it and you say like, hey, you really need to control the conversation. You need to set the terms. You need to set the tone. But when you actually take that and you put it into place and you see the power of it, it kind of like opens up everything, because you've essentially just learned something, which there's no going back now. Like, you're never going to put yourself in that situation where you don't do that again. And before, maybe this was like just like the standard way of being, where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna kind of like feel my way through this situation, and like hopefully it works out. But like once you're like, okay, this is how it is. This is what I want. This is what it's going to be. If it's going to work, cool. If not, kind of like you said, like it's so it's eye opening to see that most people are not going to just like, okay, yeah, that doesn't work for me. See ya. Most of them see it as like, oh shoot, this guy's got something, because he's over here. He's not desperate. He's actually making demands. If I want to work with him, like, it's a completely different mental shift when the client comes in and they think that they're choosing between like 10 different marketers. And then, they stumble around somebody who's like, hey, if you're going to work with us, this is what we need from you. It's like, you look so different than the other marketers who are begging for like, hey, I'll get you on the first page. No one's better, blah, blah, blah. Like, when you come in, you're like, this is how it has to be. This, and this. It's just like, it really sets a tone and lets them know that they're kind of working with the ringer, right? They're not working with some like little weenie on the playground who's trying to find a team to join. They're working with the person that's calling the shots, and be like, okay, we're going to take over this. We're going to take over this playground. This is where this, just kind of, it's a completely different mental set, like you see it, you probably see it all the time in your normal life, where like some people just kind of like, they kind of have this presence where they're like, they're confident, they're strong. They walk into a room, they're just like, yeah, that person seems like they're successful in somehow. Sorry, got some feedback, Sarah.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, sometimes things get away from you too. Like, the blessing of working with Patrick is, I might have like 10 sites that need to be sold like right away. So I have time to find, the perfect person before I start forwarding calls. Like, I need to find, to some degree, a warm body of somebody who, looks like they might be the right one, because I have 9 more that need to be sold right away. And so a certain number of those are going to go sideways on me, and I'm going to get distracted by something else before I get back to it and be able to really rein them in. So I don't always make the right decision, right? But it's more of a speed factor. So I think that the more shoes that you get on the shelf that are actually producing, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but it's also, it can work out really well, because then you get in flow and you get so confident about what you're offering that you can come in with that kind of like more confident, harder approach and be like, for me, I just look at it, I see piles of money on the table and I'm like, I want to go pick those up. So hand me your money. Come on, like, let's do this. And it helps me close a lot easier. But also it's kind of like on the other side of it, if I get too busy and I get too, like if I have something that's more, a property that's more important to me because it's producing more, has more value than another one, I might just like settle for somebody on a trial. Maybe they're the right person, maybe not. And then I might not even circle back with them for a couple of weeks. And they've gotten all these leads. And then I find myself in this inferior position where I haven't set the right frame. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's all in flow. And I think at the end of the day, what I found is that when stuff like that happens, it always leads me to, like what happened to you, Ben, like to some other win. At the end, if you control the leads, you're going to win at the end of the day. whether you screw up in the short term or not, you know, you have something that valuable. So just trust that and believe that, and that confidence is going to take you to the end zone. At least that's what I find.
No, absolutely. And then, like I said, like you were saying, Patrick, marketing people and what they're used to, like the thing that we have our swagger to carry, that I walk into conversations now, I walk into talking to businesses because you give us tools like lead generated, you know, and different things where we can show heat maps and we can show everything that we're talking about, which none of these other people can show that. So that's the value in itself. So already knowing that that in itself is better than anything or most that people offer, getting that frame right that Mike's, you know, teaching us, and then, you know, with you kind of setting the standards. I mean, like you said, it was kind of one of those things that just kind of, well, you know, that holy thing. And like you said, I can't go back because it's so easy that it was right in front of me. Sorry, my dog's coming at me, but it was so easy in front of me, that now I was overthinking it, and now I have a way to kind of approach it where, like you said, even if I hear a no, like I'm still like having a good time. You know, we're talking about buck hunting, like Patrick said, and, you know, we're chopping it up because at the end of the day, like this isn't a service that we're trying to push on anybody to like pull the sheet over their eyes and then like steal their money out of their pocket. If they don't
Yeah,
see the
100%.
value, that's fine. You know, for example, like we have the swag part, you know, like you don't see the value in my lead side. Well, guess what? Let me do some swag for you. Let me, you know, how much did you pay for those pens? How much this and that, you know? And, you know, they give me an excuse that, oh, this and that, you know, well, I built value somewhere, but at the end of the day, it's just a conversation. But when you go in there with the confidence of knowing how to direct the conversation, and you kind of figure it out, like I said, I can go and talk to anybody now. I want to, you know, just like Pat, just like Jeff, just like all you guys, like we can't, once we get started about lead generation and how we help small businesses, like we can't shut up. Like everybody's like, okay, we get it. We're like, no, we're going to bring you business. And, you know, so when you have that and the confidence with it, I mean, game changer.
Yeah, I've also found, Ben, that, you know, when I think I've exhausted every company in a market, you know, and I'm just like, I don't know, what's in, I haven't been able to find the right contractor, and I think there's nobody left, right? Suddenly I hit this sort of like mother lode, and there's this whole other list of contractors I've never seen before, right? There's always another one out there, it seems. So, you know, that gives me a lot of confidence. That's something that kind of came around over the past few months, really, where I had some of those properties in certain cities that I just wasn't able to get the right contractor, and cycled through a bunch of people who maybe they paid for a month or two, and they don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to hire. They don't know how to, all that, whatever, you know, and they blow out. And I'm like, man, like, where am I going to find somebody else? And then I just like tap into some other list of contractors that open up a whole new possibility. So
Once you get
I'd
that,
never be afraid to lose them, you know.
well, once you're high, you know, it's, you know, I don't want to get like all crazy, but once you're vibrating on a different level, you start attracting, you know, these things, these problems that you have, the solving part, you start attracting. You don't have to look for it. So, you know, when you have
Right.
all these things going on all cylinders, you know, I just feel exactly to you, and just be open-minded enough. Just know that, you know, the frustration that I've felt that I'm going through, you know, if I could turn it into a lesson, learn from it, you know, if I would have been doing the same thing, letting people, you know, dictate the terms, you know, me afraid to ask for money, like who knows how long this would have went, right? Like maybe this could be a couple more months of me, you know, hurting myself, my brand, my growth. But, you know, now that I've kind of figured this out, and just know that if somebody says no, okay, there's going to be a yes right around the corner. But, you know, kind of in the same breath, growing the agency and the, you know, I have no idea about growing an agency. I've never grown an agency. I'm a bartender that I've been in town for a long time, and I can, you know, pour a mean drink and talk crap to the best of them. But building an agency and doing all this, just like all of us, when we come into, you know, JK and the different things, we're trying to figure it out as we go. So you guys giving these these things has been nothing but value. And again, it is good to hear sometimes the hard work that you put in, that you hope to hear a little bit come back. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I tell you, you know, oh, Patrick, and oh, Dan Klein, and, you know, I talk about all these people like, you know, as if they know who I'm talking about, but it's just because, you know, I'm so intrigued, and I'm so, you know, I'm so thankful, because it's my way of showing thanks, because I'm just like learning all these cool things, and I want to share it with people and have them, you know, get better. And it's just it's a snowball effect. So
Well,
thank you.
don't discount yourself, man. You're taking the action and doing the work. I mean, you know, not everybody does that. So kudos to you for doing
No,
that.
hey, I'm excited. I love it. And, you know, again, no matter what, there's things that I've, you know, taken on that were never in my wheelhouse, but you know,
Yeah.
not
Well, we
faking
all,
it
we
to
all have
make
to
it.
learn
But I
and
know
grow.
Patrick and Jeff and everybody has been there, done that. So just do it and then
Still
figure it
there,
out.
still doing that every day, always trying to learn and grow. Janeri, I
Awesome.
know you're shaking your head. I know you're the same way.
Yeah.
All the time, all day
Yeah,
long.
you're never gonna stop learning. I mean,
Right.
especially as you climb up, you're gonna have to learn something new. I mean, we definitely haven't done it before. So I wanted to speak on some of the stuff you were saying, Ben. So I hired an appointment setter because I hate prospecting like many people do. And I want people calling me. So, and then I just hired 3 salespeople because I love doing the sales part, but because I want to grow at a certain level, I rather have multiple people working in an hour for me pretty much. So anyhow, I just started the appointment set a few weeks ago, and I wasn't really thinking, I'm so busy, and I'm getting calls back, and it's like, oh, did you just call me? And I'm like, shoot. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So. And then I didn't even think things through of what I'm supposed to say back. I didn't think that through, that they're gonna call back. So my appointment setter is in the Philippines, and the phone number that shows up is local, right? So when they call back, they're not calling back, I'm using like Skype or something like that. So they're just using my Skype account, and then they just call right from their laptop or computer, whatever. When they call back, it's coming straight to me, and I didn't even think of that. Anyhow, some guy, I explained to him, and he happened not to be even the niche that I was going after, but of course I'm not gonna like let that go. So I was like, hey, but do you need so-and-so? And I just started talking to him, and then he's like, yeah, let's talk later on at 7:00. And then he kept on asking me questions. I'm like, no. So anyways, after, I don't know what I said to him, but he was like, have a great day. And he hangs up on me, right? So I'm like, I ain't letting him go. I'm going to hit him a different direction, right? That was my strategy. Because I knew he wanted the business. He was interested, but I said something that he was like, okay, I'm good. He calls me back again. He's like, hey, did you just call me or whatever it is? He didn't realize he had called me earlier. So then we start talking, and now whatever, I start talking to him and all this stuff. And he's in the roofing industry or whatever it is. So I'm like, he's like, yeah, you know what? I need your help like today. Like I really, really need your help. We do something different, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, my business partner, we have kids and stuff like that. So we have to figure out the time. So now, I just took that as, obviously, I'm like Patrick in the same way, where I love to help people. And I really translate that when I'm talking to these business owners. And so I know I can help this business owner one way or another, right? But if I had a different mindset, I could have been all butthurt the first time. And then when he called back, I would have been scared, and I wouldn't have picked up his phone call, right? But I don't even care at this point, because again, there's so many business owners, there's so many people that needs our help, that what we do, I don't even look at it as sales. Like, if you really think about it, like, you're just helping and conversing with these people. We have some skills that really help change their lives pretty much. And if you just take away the sales part and just really care about other people and human beings, you can sell this left and right. That's it. That's all I do. My closing rate is like 90%. Now I do a 2-call close. I do a discovery call to qualify them. And the second thing is I do Zoom. And I ain't gonna lie, my face does help with closing deals. So most business owners are men. So it does help me a little bit, but I still show the value. I still present things, and that's it. And if they don't close, whatever, move on to the next. So that's all.
Yeah, what Janeri said, I couldn't agree more. I've said this on a few calls. When you stop like making the reason for the sale about trying to increase your bottom line and start making it about trying to help these people, like sales they seem like they come from everywhere, and that's where, Patrick, who was kind of giving these guys some time while they were going like the older lady that had COVID, like make it about the people, and the sales process gets really, really easy when you kind of just like imagine you're sitting at a bar talking to someone and you're trying to just like, I want to understand this person, like we have this. So this is what happens, right? Like we have an idea in our head and then we come up with words to put it and try to make it sound good. And then we deliver it to them and then they get it inside that they hear it. And then they've got to like transcribe, try to make sense of it. And a lot gets lost. Right. And if we can just kind of just be humans and talk to other humans and stop trying to, I hate to say stop the positioning, but if you just like, hey, what does this human need? And like, put yourself in their shoes. What does that feel like to be in their shoes where it's like, hey, I'm really good at what I do. And I've been in business for like 20 years, but nobody knows about me because the internet isn't like how people find me is through the internet. And the internet doesn't necessarily care about who's the best at it or who cares the most for the customers. It cares about who's the best SEO. So if you're awesome at SEO and lead generation, you can go and vet and try to find this person that needs your help and make all the difference in the world for them. You're like, for me, sales isn't really about trying to get them to sign up as much as it is like get them to like get out of their own way because they're used to having somebody come there and be like this snake oil salesman trying to sell them something that they don't need because they can't deliver on it. But for us, we can actually deliver, right? So what we have is very valuable. But how do you separate yourself from all these people that like they have garbage that they're trying to sell? They don't know the first thing about trying to like get a GMB to rank. Maybe they don't know what a backlink is or a good backlink, right? They don't understand any of this stuff. And these are the people that they're going to group us with, but we're very different from them, right? Especially for those of us that have seen it, like Janeri, for instance, for those of us that have made a huge impact on one of these business owners, like when you go to talk to the next one and you hear their problems, like for me, I'm like, when they're telling me their problems, I'm like in their skin. And I'm also getting excited because I'm like, oh, this is going to be so important for you. That's what's kind of going through my head is like, this is going to be a game changer for this dude. And when we get on our calls, our weekly calls with our managers, and, I'm going to kind of get back to Ben for a second. So Ben, I'm going to grab that cheat code thing and I'm going to put that video probably in this group and I want to expand on it with these calls. I'm going to start keep making them shorter just because like, I think that, I think the last couple were like 2.5 hours. That takes a lot out of me. I'm going to try to give as much value as I can, but I'm going to probably condense these calls down more and then maybe put some videos and stuff into the group that are a little bit more concise and try to like answer questions, give some inspiration and stuff like that on these calls. So like, Ben, one of the things that you said back at the beginning where you had like the leads and it sounded like it was some kind of like realtor related service. So here's something, there's certain events that happen that we can sell things for where that lead is actually worth like 10 times more than like just the actual face value of that lead, right? So with a realtor, okay, let's pretend that the lead is for somebody that's like buying a house or something, right? So let's pretend that it's a house that's going to be like a new house, right? There's so many other pieces where we sell that lead as just maybe you sell it as like a realtor lead or like a lead for a builder, but it's also could be a lead for like new carpet for windows. It could be like home inspection. So when you have these leads that are trickling in and maybe you've got like 10 or 20, I can't remember what you said, but that type of event is very different than like when there's like Janeri mentioned roofing, like a water leak on a roof maybe can't be used 10 times. But if it's a catering lead that's for a wedding, then that could be you could reuse that lead as like a DJ, maybe like if the person needs like their dress or like chair rental, table rental, like all these different pieces, like you could have different venues, right? So how can we take these leads and like that lead could be worth 10 times what you're selling it for now if you're only selling it once. And if it's for the right event that kind of has that waterfall of events that follow it. Like if I know that this person needs this, then they also like need this, this, and this, right? So just something to think about for those, because I think we really sell ourselves short where we work so hard for these leads and we've been taught a certain way and we kind of like get inside this box of thinking like, okay, one site, this is like what it's for. We want to keep it exclusive. You're not even really violating that exclusivity if you put it in other niches, right? And you say like, okay, like that wedding cake lead, I'm gonna get.
Yeah. I was gonna compare it to like the wedding planner, like you said, being able to reuse that lead over and over again.
So for you, with having the 10 or whatever it is, house related leads, that's one of those like special events that there's all these like waterfall other things that can happen, right? Mm-hmm. We got to hang out next time I'm in Vegas, man. We go there often. I've got some real estate there. I'll hit you up.
Born and raised, man. Come down. I'll show you everything.
I lived there for 12 years.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I live up Summerlin area. So.
Summerlin? Okay, cool. All right. So does anybody else have any other questions? Anything they're stuck with right now?
Yep. Got something there. Just it's really great hearing some of your guys' stories. I had a little one this week. I've been, I used to be a retailer for many years. I was in the Chamber of Commerce for a long time. So I'm just getting an agency going to try and help with little bits and pieces. And like some of you guys, I'm a problem solver and I like to help people. So that's part of the reason for this. So anyway, I made an arrangement, a meeting with the newish CEO of the Chamber. And he's been there a while and he came with a few ideas and just waiting to sort of put some of them out. I got in there and I showed him heat maps and a few other things like that. And I offered him a page on my website to help promote the Chamber. And so perhaps I could use their logo and a few other things on some of our other lead gen sites. And then he's asking me, do you think you'd be able to talk on some of this stuff to all our members? Oh, do I have to? So we're in the throes now trying to arrange when and how we can do that and show them the heat maps. Pick a few people and show some stuff and maybe do a bit of live things just like Patrick does. So it's looking really promising. And there's a couple other organisations which I'm just in the throes of doing that in town as well. So it's out there. You just got to have a look. So it's really exciting. So thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mark. I think that's the type of opportunity that we need to be seeking out. That's so much more than just one client, right? And Mark, I would also, if I were in your situation, one of the things I would do when I have that conversation is I would throw the reputation management on there too, and just let them know how it works. Explain that like the reputation management and the heat map are really tied together hand in hand. You show them the heat map first, and then you could go into how you can improve your rankings and talk about how reviews are a big part of improving those rankings. And then here's a system that can help you automate the review collection process, right? So all these people need reviews, like all these different business owners in the Chamber of Commerce, right? They all need that, right?
Yeah, that was on my list of things. I'm doing a deep dive into reputation management at the minute. We're just working out a timeliney thing so we can, when we talk to a customer, so this is what we'll need from you, this is what we can do for you, and this is going to have to happen and stuff like that. We're doing that for all of our prospective things that are coming up. So yes, I need more information on how the reputation management. I could see it as a really big thing, and I've just printed out a business card with it talks about that, and it says, ask me how I can get you more leads.
Right.
So I'm going to be handing some of those out on the night. That's one of the first thing it says on there. Talk to me about, you want more business? Talk to me about that. So, but I just need to really learn more about the reputation management. I've seen how the review system works on your system. I need to learn how to do that quicker and better. So I'm deep diving right now.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that that we're hoping to add to this in the real near future is the ability to kind of white label that reputation management system. Sorry,
Okay.
it looks like my video just went out. Okay, there we go. So is to white label it, and then we have like the ability to like start texting those. So I think that system, it's kind of one of the newer parts of lead generated, but it's one of the ones that we've got this kind of major facelift that's coming for it. And I think it's going to make it easier for you to monetize this and for everybody to be able to monetize this system and you know, it's going to be more powerful. So that's coming in the near future for you guys. But congratulations, Mark. That sounds like an awesome opportunity, man. I know you've kind of been in the trenches there trying to get things to move forward. And that seems like you're on to something there now.
Yep. Regarding what you said about staff, I've just done a similar thing. You know, someone that's good and it's always promising to, this is always looking just around the corner. This is going to happen, just going to happen, just going to happen. And the patients wore out last week.
Yeah.
I did one similar thing a couple of months ago again. That just weren't a fit. The attitude and stuff, whilst their work seemed to be reasonable, just mental attitude or the, you know, what they're doing just doesn't fit. Again, exactly what you're saying, what I want to do and what I want to achieve. I need people that are starters, self-starters, and the people that are going to be enthusiastic. And I've got a couple of good ones there. And I've just tried, someone else talking about content writers earlier. And I've been training up some content writers like that for the last nearly 3 months. And I've just doubled their pay last week because they're all now really good at what they're doing and they can anticipate what they're going. And one of the girls is even writing like selling lines into the content. You know, you need to talk to us now. And that's really, really promising when you've got someone that you know, these are only young kids around the 20s age studying or doing things like that. So they're not full time with me, but when they're going, and one of them's just seen it with this doubling of pay, she's all of a sudden productivity's gone up, but they're worth it. And that's why I want to keep them now, because I've trained them for 2 months to do what I want them to do. And I've just given them another thing, which some of you guys may be interested in, is set up a meta tag template. And I'm now getting my content writers to fill that out. I give them a brief template there of what I want for the key description and all the other stuff like that from an earlier piece that I give them. And I said, now that's what I wanted to give you, and I'm going to pay you by the word for that as well. So that's another thing they're doing, and I've seen someone coming in and they're spot on, they're great. And no better time to do it than the person that's just written the content. You know, you just got to give them the idea and how to do it. So looking for that to really work for us as well, if that's any help to you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I think great ideas. Appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, man, keep me posted on how that thing goes with the Chamber of Commerce group. Love to see how that turns out. Cool. So Troy, I think I may be jumping to conclusions, but I think that is not I don't think that's really where Mark really is, that beach there. Seems like it's always great weather there though. But does anybody have any additional questions or anything that they're struggling with, that they're stuck with? Like I said, I'm probably going to wrap this thing up here in a few minutes. If not, just because I'm going to try to keep these things a little bit shorter, a little bit more compact and concise. Not that I don't love talking to you guys, but I'm going to throw it together. I'm going to share the cheat code that I did on how I set up my business. I'm going to share that into the group, and then I might build on that, because I think that is something based on the questions that I've heard over the last few weeks. I think that's something that a lot of you guys could benefit from is kind of like as we start to scale our agency on things. So I'm hoping in this next week, we're going to have a lot of updates that come out. I thought that they were going to be live this week, but you know, development, it's always a little tricky. There's so many different things dependent. So if nobody else is stuck or struggling with anything, I'm going to give you like one last chance to chime in. And if not, we will we'll pick this up again next week. And like I said, feel free to invite other people to join us in the group. I'm going to throw some more stuff in there, some of the videos that I recorded in the past, just so they're kind of like in this area for you guys, a little bit more organized. And you guys have a great week. For those of you that are in Texas or, you know, any of these other places, I think Louisiana, Mississippi, that are hit with the storm, I hope you guys are safe and, you know, are staying warm and you know, have clean drinking water, because like it's crazy that disappeared all of a sudden for a lot of people. So all the best. I will see you guys in the group. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
You guys.